Hey, Pokedad Fan Club, it's me, Pokedad, and today we're looking at Metal build with Genesect EX. Now, when I first saw this card, I have to confess, I really didn't think it was going to be all that good. Um, Drive Change, that ability really didn't seem like it was all that special, and Rapid Blaster, setting up with 3 Metal Energies, uh, seemed like it was gonna just take too long, especially with decks like Night March in the format and Trevenant. But I honestly started playing with this, saw some of the builds from other YouTubers, and I'm convinced that Genesect is gonna be a pretty good card, and I might even make it into the meta. I'm actually gonna try this at a league challenge this weekend. I have tested this a lot. I've made a lot of changes. So give it a try. Look at this build and see what you think. Give it a try online, and I hope that you'll enjoy it. But anyway, so let's talk about Genesect. Genesect is our main attacker. Um, he has the ability Drive Change. Once during your turn, you may put a Pokemon tool card attached to this Pokemon into your hand. Let's come back to that and talk about that a little bit more after we've talked about the attack. The Rapid Blaster for 3 Metal Energy does 100 damage, but then we can discard as many Metal Energy as we want, and this attack will do 20 more damage for each energy card discarded in this way. So the idea here is if we can put a Fighting Fury Belt on Genesect, it bulks 20 HP, which is good, especially for matches like Night March and stuff that can hit really hard on turn 1. But then Rapid Blaster gives us a certain level of uh, flexibility to our attacks. See, with a Fighting Fury Belt, we're hitting 110, so that's a magic number on Shaman EX, and anything less than that, like Night Marchers or even Greninja, before Greninja evolves, Froakie and Frogadier, we can take a knockout without having to get rid of any of our energies. If we get rid of one energy, then we're at 130 HP. Well, that knocks out Greninjas, knocks out Xerneas, it knocks out Baby Eviltal, and Baby Xerneas. So that's another magic number that hits just right. And so we're able to then next turn just reattach another energy, and we can use Rapid Blaster again. But here's the cool thing is Rapid Blaster with the Fighting Fury Belt, and if we discard all 3 energies, we can hit 170. So we can knock out um, Eviltal EXs, or we can knock out Greninja Break, or we can knock out anything at that 170 mark. Thing is we can load him up with more than 3 energies and take knockouts on megas. Sometimes we have to load him up with 5 energies, and then we can take him. He can take a knockout on a 210 HP mega. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. And if we can't take a one-hit KO, we always have the option to just take a 2-hit KO. Hit him with a Rapid Blaster without discarding any energy. That puts 110 damage. Then next, I can put another 110 damage on a Pokemon and knock it out. So that kind of leads us back to the Drive Change. Because the problem with this is after you Rapid Blast, if you get rid of all your energy, you really have nothing left to do. I mean, he's stuck in the active, right? Well, Drive Change, we play a high level of Fighting Fury Belts and Float Stones, so we can take the Fighting Fury Belt off of him, assuming that he hasn't got damage for 180 or more, and then put a Float Stone on him. We can begin Metal Lynxing to another Genesect with our Bronzongs and get him ready, and then we can just retreat. Put the Fighting Fury Belt on the new Genesect, and we can just keep going back and forth with that. We also play AZ in this deck, so if we get one stuck in the active, we can also AZ him out of the active. So a lot of stuff we can do, and the idea is that we're going to try to get Genesect powered up as quickly as possible and get our Bronzongs ready so another Genesect can get powered up on the bench pretty quickly also. And then we just keep switching the Genesects out, doing max damage each turn. And sometimes this guy can take 6 prizes in like 4 or 5 turns. very, very easily with the build that we have here. Alright, so let's talk about our other attacker. We play one Aegislash EX. I have to say that this deck is crammed full of techs, of consistency cards, and I really would love to play a second Aegislash EX, but I just don't have room in it. Aegislash EX does come in handy though against matches like Night March. Forces them, especially if you put a Fighting Fury belt on Aegislash, forces them to have to put a lot of Night Marchers in the discard pile and play Hex in one turn, and a lot of times they can't do that. So they can either choose to take a 2-hit KO, but then they'll have to play 2 Hexes, and that'll be their supporter for the turns. In the meantime, we can go ahead and get other stuff powered up, or they can try to get the 1-hit KO and Hex, but a lot of times it's not as easy as you would think, especially when they have to hit 210 HP. But if they overextend that way, then we can just knock their Night Marchers out, and they can puzzle a time back for them. But if we can end also, we can kind of keep their hand limited to what they're to just a few resources. So Aegislash helps out with that. Also can help out in the Evil Tall matchup, because they do play a lot of special energy. Fighting also plays a lot of special energy, so it can help in all of these situations. We do play a 3/3 line of Bronzong. We play this Bronzor, and I really like this one. It's got 60 HP, has Iron Defense. It does have a 2 retreat cost, but Iron Defense can help us stall for a turn if we don't get set up very quickly. And can save our Bronzong, so our Bronzor, and then usually we can get a float stone on him if he's in the active, and then just move from there. Now we played 2 of the Metal Links. Again, I wish I could put a third one of these in, but I just don't have room for it. I would actually consider playing a 3-4-1 line of Bronzong Break. But Metal Links is what allows us to keep charging up an energy on our bench Pokemon, so we can get another Genesect ready to go. If we can get both of our Metal Links Bronzongs in play, we can then easily get a Genesect charged up because we play so much energy in this deck. So Bronzong helps us there. We also play one of the Metal Fortress Bronzong. Now this really is only for one matchup. It's for the Trevenant matchup, because if we get item locked on turn 1, we're going to be struggling. However, Trevenant we're resistant to Psychic, so Trevenant can only Tree Slam for 40, or he can Silent Fear for 30. However, if we can get this Bronzong set up, Metal Fortress will keep his Silent Fears only to the active. That's going to force him to Tree Slam for just a whopping 40 damage every turn. And in that case, a lot of times we can either deck a player out, or we can just slowly set up. We play a lot of energy in this deck. We can slowly set up something on the bench, maybe tank a Genesect or the Aegislash or something like that in the active. And then when the time is right, we can come in with our Genesects and finish the Trevenant player off. Another thing about this is to consider 2 Lysanders, so we can Lysander the Trevenant out of the active. That then gives us access to our items, so if we're just patient with it, we can get that taken care of. And then also, we play 1 Hex Maniac, so we have that option also. So it's not like we're going to be struggling completely with the item lock. We will have options with our supporters. So we play one of those, and I have tested this against Trevenant, against one of the best Trevenant players I know, and I beat him 4 times. And every time it was because I was able to get this. If I hadn't got it out, I probably would have lost pretty easily. Play 1 Bronzong Break. Just gives us another attacker, especially if we run into something like Jolteon. We can kind of Metal Links this up, get a bunch of energy on it, and then Metal Rain down onto that Jolteon. Also, Bronzong can help us in the Regice. If we have to come against Regice, we can use Bronzong as an attacker. And since Regice is weak to metal, shouldn't be too hard. Alright, so let's move a little bit faster. We do play 2 Shaman EX for setup, and that is our Pokemon line. Alright, we play 1 Escape Rope. We already have 3 Float Stones and we have 1 AZ, but Escape Rope is in here mainly for Regice and Jolteon. Gives us an extra way to get them out of the active, then we can Lysander them up and take them out so that their effects are off of us. 4 Max Elixirs. This card is just so useful in this deck. This helps us also accelerate the energy to Genesect, and it is very possible, though it doesn't happen too often, but it is possible to get a Genesect all set up on turn 1 and begin taking knockouts on turn. 1 Startling Megaphone. I'd love to play 2 of these, but if we're playing against Megas, we want to try to knock Spirit Links and Fighting Fury Belts off, because if we have to end up going against a Mega, then we have to put more energy on Genesect. And if we're having to put more energy on Genesect, that means we're not Metal Linksing to another Genesect. So we would rather try to keep them from Mega Evolving, or if they are going to Mega Evolve, they're going to have to lose a turn. So that's why we do that. Super Rod sometimes we have to sycamore pieces away and we have to bring them back later. So Super Rod helps with that. Also, sometimes we may have Max Elixirs left and we can put a few of our energies back in to give us a shot at hitting those better at the end game. So we play that. 4 Trainer's Mail for consistency. Trainer's Mail just helps us get into what we need, especially supporters, because we do need to keep moving through our deck by either using In or Sycamore most of the time so that we can keep setting up. 4 Ultra Balls to help us get Shaman EX or get a Genesect or get the Bronzong pieces that we need. So that's standard in every deck. Now I know I'm only playing 3 VS Seekers, but I've come to a realization that if you're not playing Battle Compressor in a deck, that 4 VS Seekers can really be a hindrance to you. You end up getting stuck with a Sycamore and multiple VS Seekers in your hand, and you can't battle compress to get an in or something else into the discard pile. So instead of playing 4 VS Seekers, I chose to play 3 VS Seekers and then higher counts of supporters. We play 1 AZ here. AZ, again, like I said, can help us get out of the active. If we need it for draw support, we can reuse a Shaman EX if we need to. 1 Hex Maniac. This helps us. We don't want to use this too often, but it does help against Greninja, and can help even against Night March if we can get it off at the beginning of the game before they can play their Shamans. But we really don't want to be using it because it shuts down our abilities also, including Aegislash. So we don't use it too often, but it is in there just in case. Also, Trevenant, Vileplume, those kind of things can help us with that. 2 Lysanders. You are going to need to, sometimes you're going to be hitting with 2-hit KOs. They're going to bring something to the bench and we've got to get it back to the active. So we play 2 of those. 3 Ins, just the second best draw supporter. Bye-bye Professor Birch and Shauna. Shuffle your hand into your deck and then draw the number of prize cards you have remaining. Also helps against Night March and the end game, forcing them to just have a small hand. Professor Sycamore, we play 4 of those. Discard your hand and draw 7. Parallel City, I'd love to play a second one of these, but I just had room for 1. But this is a very clutch card, especially against something like Greninja. If they have like 3 Frogadiers and 2 Octilleries on their bench, you play that down and limit their bench to 3, and then they're forced to get rid of some very valuable assets. Also, we can turn it the other way to help against Greninja, but it also is very useful in other situations too. 3 Fighting Fury Belts. I already talked about why we use that with Genesect to give us that extra 10 damage and 40 HP buff. 3 Float Stones. We talked about that also to help get Genesect out of the active. And then finally we play 11 Energies. I originally played this with 12 and I would prefer to play it with 12, but I just have so much stuff in here that I had to drop it down to 11. Anyway, guys, this Pokedad signing